Do this right.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah. So, hello guys. I'm Jacob Elliott of App State Sports News and Facts. I have my this year's podcast. You could say you guys know me a lot. I love you guys, and I'm really happy to have you from Sideline Sports, or what are you affiliated with again?
Hi. My name's Rohan Patel. I work for Sideline Sports Network as part of College Sports Network, and I am Sidelines ECU, so I cover ECU pretty well.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
Yeah, I know a lot of sideline reporters. It's just new for me to do this kind of thing. You guys know that I've done Phil Steele, David Jackson interviews, but this is new doing it this way, guys. So I'm very happy to do this. But first off, thank you for joining me today very much. It means a lot to me.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for setting this up.
Oh, yeah, no problem. The last memory I can have at ECU is in 2013. We went to Hickory Tavern and watched the game there. You guys beat us, but it was one of our down years, I could say. But still, just looking at it this year, your head coach, I know him personally because he used to coach at LR in Hickory, where I live. So we knew each other through the churches. So I love your head coach. He has done an amazing job climbing the ladders, but I know him. He probably doesn't remember me, but he's a great guy. I mean, we've been pulling for him ever since he left LR. I'm glad he has this year a team that some people are calling underdogs, but when I look at my statistics, I can see you guys have talent. It's just kind of like you had been down last few years. No one expects you to be above that average. But in my opinion, you guys have what it takes to beat us and possibly even go farther than anyone expected, just because you're the underdogs, but your talent and what you have on the field and off the field looks really strong.
Well, that's a very good point. ECU has been building, I think, for the past couple of years under Mike Houston, right? There was a stagnation period under our previous head coach. I don't want to become like the person who just bashes the previous coaching staff because frankly, it's a little played out. It's everything that needs to have been said has been said about that. But what gives me a certain level of quiet confidence or cautious optimism about this season moving forward is what has been built by Mike Houston. So, we haven't had as much winning success over the first 2 years under Mike Houston, but there is some context that you have to take into account when you talk about ECU's first 2 seasons. So Mike Houston's first season, functionally, ECU was an FCS team in the sense that he only had 50 scholarship athletes on the team. There was a huge level of turnover and players transferring, players leaving the program, and just a lack of forethought by the previous coaching staff in terms of recruiting. So
that's understandable.
There were a lot of under-recruited classes coming up to it. It was like 17 kids, 16 kids, 15 kids, and that all kind of caught up to the program to where we just didn't even have the bodies functionally. And it led to Coach Houston in his second season basically having to recruit a ton of young kids, bring in a lot of transfers. He used gray shirts, blue shirts, every little trick you could to get as many players on the board to actually field a full 85-man roster. But that meant in year 2, the team was super young. And COVID hits. So, there's a level of everyone was affected by COVID, right?
Yes.
But there's a level of you are disproportionately affected by COVID when you have a really young team and a really new team where you don't have as much continuity, right? So that was a huge effect, especially early on in ECU's season. But I think you saw there were significant strides as the season wore on, which led to the last 2 games were 2 blowout wins by ECU against Temple and against SMU.
Yeah, so, SMU, that one was big for you guys. SMU historically, and I think last year did pretty well. Am I correct when I said that? They were okay, right?
They're an 8-win team. I think they ended up finishing 3rd or tied for 3rd in the American.
That was an upset right
program,
there.
Well run by Sonny Dykes. Has a lot of high-level athletes, a lot of transfers from all those Big 12 schools. So, being able to match up with them and really put a number on them shows a significant level of improvement by the program, which leads to a certain degree of optimism for this coming year.
Yes, and when I look, that's what I saw because like it takes time to build a program. COVID was a bad thing, we all know, but for young players, that could be time for learning experience to also grow, and you could try different stuff. Because this past spring, we all admit it was crazy football season. Stuff happened, and but for you guys, mostly that could be a positive, even though it's a bad situation. Positive because it helps your young players that you want to play learn more and get in the game and prepare for the fall season, which is it's hard to say it's a good incident. COVID's bad, we all know that. But for the freshmen, it's you got to see them in the game. They got to get the feel of it, and the coaches can see what they need to fix on the off season. It could be a plus for a very young team that has the talent there, like you guys. And I feel like you people don't really look at it that way because they look at they had a bad season in the spring, they're going to be the same. But there's this time period between the spring and fall where where any team could change anything, have better looks. It's just no one really, I think, understands that time period and playing in spring and now playing in the fall could be a huge benefit for some teams that no one even expected to be good. And that, I think, falls into the case of ECU.
No, I 100% agree. I think the ramifications of of last year's COVID season will definitely, you'll see certain teams that'll make huge strides that they did not make, that you wouldn't necessarily see made in a normal year-to-year projection. And I can point that out based on, everyone got to keep their players. ECU is bringing back 10 new starters from offense, 10 starters on defense. So basically the whole team's coming back. Honestly, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of, I believe it was 91% of our offensive firepower is coming back. Our entire offensive line, our entire defensive line is coming back, with the exception of actually an App State grad transfer, Chris Willis.
Yes.
He was on our team last year. He decided to move on. So that's the one position on defense that we're trying to fill. We're trying to also fill our, I believe, what is going to be called our Z wide receiver. That was Blake Prohl, who was Ricky Prohl's son. He decided to move on and try his hand in the pros, and he was an unsigned free agent for the Minnesota Vikings. Unfortunately, tore his ACL in practice. So
I think I heard about that. Yeah.
It was tough because he was killing it apparently in training camp. It was, burning their number one receivers, and it looked like he was going to make the team. But, stuff happens. I'm sure he'll bounce back. He's a tough kid, and he'll get an opportunity this following year after he fully recovers, hopefully with the Vikings, or if not, with somebody else. But so, we're optimistic about the offense because I think the offense went from year one under Coach Houston, we're averaging like 21 points a game. Year two with a more difficult schedule because, no FCS teams, playing mostly in the American, we went up to about 28 points a game. So I think that the offense has shown a certain degree of improvement. The defense is similar, right? That's definitely been the weakness of the team over the first 2 years under Mike Houston. Run defense specifically, averaging, giving up about 5 yards per carry, has to get better. There has been an emphasis on the team to get better. I know App has a lot of really good running backs. It's definitely on the micro level for
I'll get to that in a minute.
Coming up. That's the number one concern I think every ECU fan should have for this game is, can we hold up in the run in, minimizing East App's running attack, because y'all have some really talented running backs.
Yes, and I want to elaborate on that. It's we have Cameron Peoples. We have a new guy who's like a sophomore. I think Nate Noel. He played last year sometimes. We have a lot of good running backs. Our team is known for running the ball mostly. We have passers, but we are mostly known for running the ball. So I also read articles today about it, trying to prepare for anything like this I was going to do. ECU and App State are going to, supposedly it's going to be App supposed to win on the line, but still they're calling it for, I'm saying this from my opinion, a shootout, because both offenses can run the ball really well. They say the top two rushing offenses one of the top two towards the top 10 or whatever in the nation going head to head. So it's going to be both defenses, but we bring back our Demetrius Taylor. He's huge. He's an NFL prospect, big time. Had a fumble recovery and an interception against North Carolina the year we play North Carolina. So he's big on the line. We have Corey Sutton, one of our wide receivers, who was hurt last year. He's coming back this year. Then we have Thomas Hannigan, our tight end. Then we have a whole new O-line was pretty much ranked one of the best O-line recruitments in the nation. They're young though, so it's also going to be kind of seeing how we can do that. That's one thing for me is the O-line. We're kind of like, But also we have a new quarterback because we had but a new quarterback, Chase Price, played originally he played at Clemson. He played a game at Clemson. He was there. That was when he said he can make it to pros one day. Transferred to Duke. Duke did not have good O-line, didn't do well, so now he's transferred to App. And the thing is, he has an arm, but he's built like a running back. He's one of our bigger backs, but actually, from what I heard, he's bigger than both of our running backs. And so you may see some sweeps, you may see some runs because he is that kind of guy who's going to push forward and do that. But our running back situation is surprisingly not going to be what everyone thinks it's going to be. But player-wise, I'll explain. We have Noel and Cameron Peoples last year. He had North Texas. He broke all kinds of records, ran for like almost 300 yards. He's actually looking like to be the backup. And Nate Noel, the sophomore, looks like to be the starter. I'm not saying that's official, guys. I'm just saying there's been rumors and there's been talk about Nate Noel doing it. And if that happens, that kind of scares. It's gonna be more scary for teams because then you have a running back like Cam Peoples, which people know about from last year, but you have a new kid that's supposed to be even better, and that's gonna be like a three-headed dragon there. So the biggest thing for us as App fans is the quarterback, the O-line, but we're pretty stout on defense, so it's gonna be interesting to see how we play against your O-line. So that's gonna be really interesting. But for us, mostly it's our O-line and QB is where we're kind of hoping we are doing better on.
No, that's one thing that as I've done more research on this game, how similar in terms of like what we're bringing back between App and ECU is, like you talked about the running backs that App is bringing back, ECU is bringing back two, I guess you could just call them COVID freshmen, right? Because they're basically going to be true freshmen for their second season. But in Rajay Harris and Keaton Mitchell, those are two names I think App fans should know because they're probably going to hear about them a little bit during the game, right?
Yeah.
So Keaton Mitchell and Rajay Harris both averaged 5 yards a carry last year. Rajay Harris was probably the more used running back, probably carried about 60% of our balls. He had about 650 yards, but Keaton Mitchell wasn't in a slouch either. He had about 457 yards. But they both averaged 5 yards a carry, so there's no drop off between our top two guys that we're bringing back. I think in a lot of ways they have the perfect mesh of they're different, but they're the same. Like if you had a Venn diagram, they're like they're not exactly the same, so you can't prepare for them the same. Keaton Mitchell is a little bit quicker. He's probably more of a lightning to the thunder of Rajay Harris. But Rajay Harris is not slow, right? Rajay Harris kicked off an 80-yard run against Navy last year. So he's got a little bit of pop himself. Keaton Mitchell might be a little bit more of the outside runner, and he might be a little bit more of a pass catcher, but he can still run down the middle. He's not too small to where you can't use him on inside runs. So there's a different emphasis, and both of them bring something new to the table, but it's not as if Keaton Mitchell's in the game, so you don't need to prepare for a run down the middle because Keaton Mitchell can do that. Oh, Rajay Harris is there, so you don't need to worry about the bounce back or the bounce off tackle because Rajay Harris can do that too. They're perfectly, I think they're perfectly different and perfectly the same, and that's what makes our running attack so potent. And you also add out there Holt Nailers, who's a third-year starter, fourth year on the team. 2018 running class was the highest. I believe he was the highest-rated dual-threat quarterback out of North Carolina. He ended up winning the North Carolina, South Carolina High School Shrine Bowl. He was the MVP.
I think I remember about that.
Got a lot of accolades. He's a local Greenville kid, so there's a lot of support for him, I think, within the fan base to really succeed and be that for the lack of a better term, like savior of our program. In a lot of ways, he felt that way. This is his third season. He's had a lot of individual success in, single games. I think the fan base is looking for him to become a little more consistent, and he showed some levels of consistency last year, right? He passed in 8 games, he passed for about 1,900 yards, had a 2-to-1 interception to turnover ratio, passed for 60% completion percentage. So he's a significant he's a high level quarterback, at the college level. Left-handed, so it's a little, it can cause some problems for defenses as well. It's a different release point, so it can be something that's challenging for somebody who doesn't see left-handed quarterbacks that often. So, I think the backfield for ECU is one of the strengths of this offense. It's between 2 running backs that are coming back from very successful seasons last year that have all gotten better. And that's one of the things that I think will improve upon our offense, keep that next level. Can they be a team that consistently scores 30 points? Can they be a team that consistently can push their will upon another team? It was sporadic last year. This year, there's belief that it'll be better.
Yes, and when you're talking about all this and listening to it, I can say what App fans, ECU fans, going to look at the most during this game: our defense versus your offense, because we have so much return for our defense, and we've had in practices and scrimmages and in camps this fall, our defense has just been blowing up our offense apparently. So I would definitely, if you watch something to watch will be App's defense versus ECU's experienced O-line and backfield. So offensive versus defense, I think that's what we need. Most people are going to have to look for it, because it's going to be interesting to see which one comes out on top of experience-wise and who's going to be showing up. So I'm actually really excited to see how you guys play up to our defense and how our defense plays up to you guys.
No, I 100% agree. Two areas to, like, statistics-wise that I think will dictate how this game goes is time of possession and third down conversion rate. Which defense can get you off the field on third downs, which offense is able to, kind of lean on the other defense, because, you look at some of the size discrepancies, ECU's, our defense is a little undersized, honestly. For an AAC level team, we are undersized, especially up front. Boast like 3 or 4 guys who are in the upper 250s, 260s, a D tackle who's probably going to be in the 280s, but ultimately that's an undersized defense, an undersized linebacker core. But, it's a group that's going to be constantly rotating. You'll see 5-6 guys on the line. You'll see 5-6 different, like, linebacker and cores. But, the fact is that being undersized means that you got to get off the ball. You got to get off the field on third downs. You got to create turnovers. Our secondary is probably the strongest secondary ECU's had in 10 years. Jaquan McMillan, you talk about Sutton. I anticipate Jaquan McMillan taking on the challenge of the number 1 wide receiver for App.
Yeah.
He's actually a kid from right around the App area. I believe he's from somewhere in Western North Carolina. I can't remember off the top of my head. He's a special kid, like, 2-year starter. This is his 3rd year coming in. He's at 7 interceptions. He's been he was, I believe, 2nd team all AAC last year. His freshman year, he was 1st team all rookie, and I believe 3rd team all AAC as a true freshman. So, he's a kind of a special kid. DJ Ford is one of our transfers from UNC. He was a part-time starter 2 years ago for Chapel Hill, and then last year took a year off for COVID, decided to transfer, came to ECU for probably what's going to amount to either, I think he has 2 years of eligibility left, but he'll probably end up trying to go for the NFL next year. So he'll be our strong side safety. We've got we have like several returning starters that our secondary looks very strong, and I think we can create some problems in 3rd and long. The trick is I remember when I wrote up our preview for the defenses, the trick is to get to 3rd and long, right? Just like any other defense, because if we can get teams to 3rd and long, we can create some problems with our secondary, and we're the number 1 blitz team last year in terms of percentage. But if we can't stop the run, we're going to have trouble with any offense that we play. So I think there's been a high emphasis upon that. So, 2 stats to watch for in this game will be time of possession and third down conversion on both sides. ECU's offense, App's offense, whoever can impose their will in that way, stay on the field, keep being able to use the lines to sort of lean on those defenders. That's who's going to win this game, or at least have the best chance to win this game.
Yeah. So getting off the team stuff, I just want to talk about the Duke Mayo Classic in the whole. I mean, I'm really excited. I'm thrilled that we actually got into this, even though it's on ESPNU for now. I'm excited we got into kind of something big, like a kickoff kind of game, ECU and App, because we go way back. ECU and App went way back in time. Used to play them. You guys beat us a lot. But the thing is that's also good publicity for both schools to be in something like this. And I know that we have up to 40,000 people expected to be in the stadium this Thursday. So for me, it's a huge plus for us, for ECU, and for pretty much any G5 school to be in something like this big, because you usually see only the P5 schools go to kickoff games and all the special coverage. So it's nice to have something for a G5 school to show up and say, hey, we did this. This is cool. And then continuing to do that. I know for a fact that our athletic director, Doug Gillen, said in the coming up years, we'll be going back to play Bank of America Stadium against different teams. Maybe not for the Duke of Mayo Classic. We don't know, but we have something in the works apparently. But it's nice to be able to have an opening game against an old rivalry and a great spot, and with easy travel time for both fan bases. It's going to be packed. It's going to be equal amount of fans because it's so close for both teams.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love the opportunity to play in Charlotte. A little personal history for me. My first game I ever saw ECU was in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium, where ECU played and beat Virginia Tech. And that was a Virginia Tech year in 2008. That was a really good Virginia Tech team that was ranked coming into the preseason. ECU knocked them off on this crazy blocked punt in the fourth quarter. And, it created a ton of fans, I think, for the team, and definitely made a fan out of me. It was just an amazing opportunity. Bank of America Stadium, having an NFL stadium in your home state is huge, because it's a huge, platform for your program, right? To get to play there, play neutral site games. Charlotte is a huge recruiting area for both teams. Getting the opportunity to, tell kids, hey, you're going to play in front of your friends and family in an NFL stadium, and you're going to play a big time game in front of people on TV. That's huge. That's
at night too. Important. At night, prime time.
Yeah,
that's
a night game, a prime time night game where all the lights are on you. ESPN coverage. I think it's a huge, important platform for both teams, and I'd love to come back and play games in Charlotte.
And I think it would be, for me personally, if we're talking about coming back, it would be against you guys or Charlotte in Bank of America, because you guys are big schools together. Like, I know NC State, Duke, they don't want to play us. Wake Forest, they canceled us. Wake Forest don't want to play us all.
Why would they, right?
They get grouped out. UNC is the only team that was kind of bold enough to play us, but if you look at geographically and what we're looking at, it would either be you and ECU or Charlotte coming to play for App. But technically this is App's home game, not really neutral site, but we'll be the home side and everything like that. But still, to be like, when we first came out with the news, I'm like, oh, Bank of America, cool. Then we did the Duke Mayo Classic on top of that. That brings a whole new level of excitement for me and a lot of fans, because it's a brand. It's something people know about, something that'll be talked about, is because the brand. If it was a regular game there, it wouldn't be as televised or as publicized. But having a name brand and a classic kickoff game is huge. It's bigger than anything I think of. App fans said this is going to be the most exciting game they're going to opening up the season they've seen in a long time, and I agree. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, if you technically want to say it, like, game day is going to be there on Saturday. So in a way, like we're one of the 2 game day games, because they're going there in essence for Clemson, Georgia, right? But we're the first game of that. So I
the first ever game
that probably played in that probably played into where they chose, because there's a lot of places they could have been in Atlanta for their Chick-fil-A kickoff. They could have been in Dallas for, I think they have a bunch of games, the Cotton Bowl this year, or not the Cotton Bowl, but
the
Stadium for Cowboys.
Yeah, that was something like that.
It's not technically the Cotton Bowl, but it is where the Cotton Bowl plays now.
Yeah,
so the bowl game is at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. It's not at the old Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, but it's just going to be, and the best thing is the fans. I mean, both fan bases and both coaches and ADs have said they are so pleased with how many fans. And it's not like it's going to be one side, because it's not too far. I mean, I've heard from both ADs looking online. They're saying that pretty much it's going to be half and half, which I'm excited about. I like that. I like not having I love being at home game, but on neutral side, having half and half with all this, it's going to be great for the fan bases, because you can see a game, but you have your rival, but it's like not going to be overtaken by the home team.
No. And I think it's also like, we have similar fan bases. I think it's a friendly rivalry. It's not,
not Georgia Southern.
It's not one of those games where I'm going to be worried about fights in the stands. I think both teams, I think both fan bases are very respectful.
Mutual respect is what I like to say.
Yeah, mutual respect for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a fun environment, a fun game, great tailgating. I think both sides are going to bring it in that way.
But I just can't get over the branding, but also just can't wait to see all the fans and meet ECU fans, meet ASU fans. It's just going to be, because football's back. COVID.
I'm so glad to go to a game live. I didn't go to any games live. I couldn't last year.
I know. I mean, lucky for me, I knew people inside that got me tickets to 2 games. I'm like, thank you. But I got to see our new facilities, our new end zone project, our new brand new field on the way. It's absolutely expanding, but it's good to kind of get a game like this out. Even though if it's not get to P5 school, it's like playing a P5 school, just on how good it's going to be and how excited everyone is.
I can tell you, I don't know if you watched any of the coverage of the UCLA game for week 0. There is the P5 or whatever you want to call it. There is a continuum. And some of those schools out west, they get like, I was looking at their stands and you're just like, oh, well, this is not, this would be like what ECU probably had at our scrimmage for spring.
People want to come to see the games. People want to be in person. They want to interact. They want to see them. So having this game, especially also right after like all this mess, it's going to bring even more fans in, even more attention, even more excitement. It's just going to be, I think this may go down as one of the best opening games I think I've ever heard of or seen in App State history, just based on what all that's happened and all that's going to happen and just the teams. It's just everything right now is falling perfectly into place to be one of the best openers. Even maybe Michigan's first, but ECU and App, it just can't get better than that, the way it's being set up right now. And the Fan Fest and the tailgating, it's just been planned out perfectly. Yeah, I'm so happy that Duke Mayo did this, and because the Belk Bowl didn't do anything like this. Duke Mayo originally last year was supposed to be Notre Dame and Wake Forest doing this. They canceled. So we're the first team ever to be playing in this. So that's also huge, because we're going to be down the record books as the first team ever to play it, even before Georgia and Clemson.
I think this is the way they should set it up, right? It should be like a regional game that has significance to, the state. And then you could have like the big national teams come too. But this should be the way Duke's Mayo does it moving forward, right? Yeah. It creates such great opportunities for, local kids within the state, families, fan bases to create this amazing atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I don't have any trouble.
Try every opportunity, in my opinion, to play in Charlotte, because it's a place where you can get a lot of eyes on it.
And I just love that it's going to be equal too. It's not going to be like App one side at home or ECU one side. It's going to be equal. Yeah. because I have a lot of ECU, oh, not a lot, some ECU people like saying like, oh, gosh, you guys are so cool. Like, yeah, it's just the respect from the years past is what we get. I mean, we have Sean Clark. We've had 3 coaches, Scott Satterfield, Elijah Drinkwitz, now Sean Clark. I mean, 3 coaches in like almost 3 years. People are just stunned by that. And then you also have a team like you guys with Mike Houston's trying to build up. So these 2 coaches, I mean, they are really good coaches. And I really think this year is going to be their year to shine because like spring ball and everything. But this is the year for ECU mostly, and this is my opinion, to prove themselves to everyone. This is a year for App to say that, hey, we're not a joke. You guys rank coastal above us. We'll show you wrong. But this game has big implications on coaching staff and the teams because it's a big year for both teams.
100% agree. And I think it's I'm just excited to watch pro fans again. I'm so excited to just piped in fan sound just doesn't sound real. It isn't real.
It just didn't feel right. It felt like something was missing.
Well, it's missing it with piped in fan noise is that there's no it's background.
Visuals.
There's
visuals
no you can't hear the tenor of the crowd. You can't hear it go up and go down because the fans are excited or things like that. It's a third down, you get extra loud.
Mm-hmm.
Those things you can't create artificially.
Yeah, and I know because I went to. It's just some teams don't allow that. I'm like, yeah, I know this because each team the home team can decide if they. Because I can't remember. I think it was against one of the teams. Both teams have to come together and decide if they want fan or not. If no one can agree on that, there'll be no fan noise. That's how they did it last year. Both teams had to agree with it. And one team that came to app disagreed with it, so we didn't have it. But it's just, I mean, I know we're talking about this over and over, but it's just, there's no words to explain how amazing this is going to be and how fun it's going to be. Even we can talk about this all night. There's just no words to explain it. And the feelings inside me right now, just overjoyed, waiting so long to see a football game in person again. And it's against ECU, an old rival. It just can't get better.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Getting back to what, I don't want to minimize what's going on in the world right now, but getting back to some semblance of normal, I think is important for both fan bases, for just people in general, right?
Yeah.
I do know that there are some COVID quote unquote restrictions at the game, verbally PSA, everyone bring your masks because I think you're not allowed to you're supposed to be wearing them while you're
Charlotte has
when you're not in the stands.
Yeah, Charlotte has a mandate saying you have to outdoors even. It's just, that's Charlotte, so it's not Bank of America.
No, it's not. Nobody chose this. This is just what it is. And, just be respectful. Don't yell at people who work there because they're just doing their job.
Yeah, it's hard, I know. And, but like I said, when we go out for the realignment is what I'm really excited about. I would love to have Marshall, App, and ECU and Charlotte almost all in the same conference because geographically wise, I mean, some of those teams maybe not, but I really want to see App, Marshall, and ECU in the same conference because I would love that geographically and plus the history behind all 3 teams. But we'll have to wait and see what the G5 does. But I mean, if you ask me, I would love to be in a conference with ECU and play them every year. That would just be amazing just because of the geographic-wise, history-wise, and everything else. But so much respect for ECU and so much respect for for your coach. My brain's everywhere today. But it's just awesome to be a part of a fan base that has respect for other teams, even if they don't respect us. But it's also great to play against a rival and that have fans like you guys that are just so nice and ready to just do it. I mean, we all have some kind of hate, and not really big hate, but hate somehow. We all have disagreements, but in all, we're going to do this for the health, for the people. It's just going to be so awesome. I don't think anyone's going to fight because mostly they're just excited to have football back.
I 100% agree. I think it's a fun atmosphere. It's a fun rivalry renewed, right? We haven't played in about, what is it?
2013 was last 2013,
years, right? Yeah. So I think we have a few games scheduled moving forward. I want to say at least 2 more in future scheduling. I think it's one of those games that I wish we schedule more.
It's mostly it's because you're an American too. You guys the Americans want to schedule bigger teams and kind of like show everyone else.
Well,
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying like the American has that kind of deal. Like they say, we're the P6. We need to like schedule a big team. But since COVID happened, I think that's gone away. It's going more geographic wise too. So that's also I think something we could look at.
I think a lot of times it's like you want to be able to schedule good home and home matchups, right?
Yeah.
And matchups that like fan bases will get excited for. Like ECU has a scheduling agreement with West Virginia next year. We have a game coming back. Yeah, that'll be a fun game. And we play NC State. We have a scheduling agreement with them. A few other quote unquote autonomy or Power 5 games in the schedule. But I think I like having these games that are regional, that are significant. I think most ECU fans do because the non-conference is what
it's a fight just everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of things. It ends up being those non-conference home games are the ones that excite a lot of the ECU fan base, and I'm sure similar to App fans, right?
Yeah,
you care about the conference games. You play them every year, so
you can see
you have like a specific like rivalry or moment.
Yeah, like Georgia Southern App. Like Georgia Southern
App. Georgia Southern App. That's a great. I love that you guys have a natural rival within your conference.
And the thing is, and people don't realize how big. I'm going to kind of go off this really quickly about this. People don't understand the rivalry between us two. It goes all the way back to when we first started playing. Every year it was for #1 spot in FCS or something like that. So being a fan, like rival with Georgia Southern App, every year is 0-0 because anyone could beat anyone. And that's kind of like what rivalry should be. It shouldn't be one-sided. It should have equal teams that could win each other because that's what makes the games. It's like we play Western. We always beat Western every day. But if we play teams like ECU or Marshall, we'll lose. But that's still good because that means that we're getting that kind of games and we're kind of getting attention. And yeah, you're right. We do play you guys. I made my customized schedule showing who we play who. We play you guys at home in the app in 2023 and then at ECU in 2024. And then in 2026, we play at ECU.
There you go. I think a 4-game. I'd rather play you guys. I think ECU has like 6-game schedule with Old Dominion. I'd rather play you guys than play them 8 times or 6 times.
You guys would probably whip their ass. No offense. I'm knowing ODU. You probably would.
Well, we've had some. We were beating them when we were at our lowest, so I think now we're a little bit better. So we should have
easier time.
An easier time.
It's like you're playing UMass.
Oh God.
Yeah, tell me about it. Or UConn, even better. It's like you're playing UConn.
Scotty Montgomery, man, he owned UConn. He beat them all 3 years. He's the only team in the American that ECU beat all 3 years of the Scotty Montgomery era.
Yeah, but for like my App fans, I'm gonna say this. Next year App plays at Marshall. We play at home against ECU Citadel at Texas A&M. 2023 at ECU. At night they'll be home at ECU. I can't speak. It'll be home against ECU at UNC at Wyoming at home against Gardner Webb. Then we play 2024 at ECU, ETSU, Clemson, and Liberty. And then we have like 7 straight years of playing Charlotte and 3 years of playing North Carolina and 3 undetermined dates against Wake Forest.
That's interesting.
The only game I hate is the Wyoming game. It's just that's the only geographic game that's out there.
Are you guys going to Wyoming?
Mm-hmm. They came to us like 3 years ago.
Well, ECU plays Boise State a couple times. It's similar distancing wise, but it's a home. But, Boise State's a huge brand, so I think it makes sense.
It's easier, yeah. Wyoming's kind of an upcoming team, but let's see. But I just want to tell my fans and everyone else, I am going to have limited stock of these. If ECU fans, if you guys want one of these, I still have plenty of them. It's to post as customized, not of the game we're going to have. So I do this for both teams. I love ECU, and I have total respect for you guys. I am so excited about this game. And to my App fans too, if you guys do want to meet me, because I'm going to be posting this before the game, please let me know, and I'll get you guys that. I also have some gifts for some special guys that Black and Gold podcast. I like to shout out to them. They're amazing. I know them personally. One of the best ever. They helped me begin teaching me by what they did. But there's so many things I can say. But I just want to say total respect for ECU. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I really hope it's a great game. And I can't wait to see how it looks. And plus, if you're wondering, we will have painted end zones. So there you go, fans. You know we got painted end zones in this game. But it's going to be awesome to play guys against ECU. I have total respect. Like I said, I am so hyped for this, and I hope you guys are too, in ECU side.
Same here. Please log on and check out collegesports.com. Please check out sidelinesports.com. Sideline Sports Twitter. We have an App State one. We have one for most of the teams in the Sun Belt. Follow along with crazy fans, crazy commentators for every situation. I try my best to keep everyone up to date on anything ECU related. Everyone in our team does a lot of great work, a lot of college sports, pro sports. We even started doing like international soccer. We can get you information on everything sports related. So that's collegesports.com.
Yes, and I'd like to say their pages are awesome. They have a lot of good content, so go follow them. And go follow me, guys, if you haven't already. I'll be posting a lot more graphics, information, and different stuff throughout this coming up week. But probably this is going to be coming out Monday or Tuesday night. Let me just tell you guys, I'll be doing a podcast every other day. Then we'll be live at Bank of America Stadium for a little pregame show with some of the best fans in the world and some of the best ECU fans in the world. I thank you guys so much for joining. I'm Jacob Elliott, App State Sports News and Facts. See you next time.